Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw. I'm here on MSC Euribia, brand new ship from MSC Cruises. And I'm here with Lyndon Capel, who's the Vice President of Sustainability and ESG for MSC Cruises. And honestly, they're making such strides here at MSC with sustainability. We wanted to talk to Lyndon about this amazing program. And you're going to hear all about that and more on Insider Travel Report. Now, Linda, first of all, how long have you been at MSC Cruises now?
I've been here just less than 5 years.
Okay.
I came from the aviation industry, which is a somewhat similar industry in terms of the sustainability challenges. Right. But, of course, they're being dealt with in maybe a slightly different way.
Yeah, and they're still got their challenges with aviation as well. Now, what was your impression of the cruise industry when you first came here in terms of its approach to sustainability?
Pleasantly surprised. Absolutely. It's a lot more complex a business, really, because you're having the whole hotel operations, and we're talking effectively like a luxury hotel with its theatres, its swimming pools and everything else, plus the requirement for it to move through the water.
Yeah, it's like as we are doing right now. Actually, it's pretty calm right now. Now, let's talk about why does MSC put so much? I mean, they hired you. They're really focused on this program. Why does MSC put so much importance on sustainability? Maybe more so than other cruise lines. A lot of cruise lines pay attention to it, but not exactly the same way.
Yeah, you've got to remember we're a family business. And I think that helps really with understanding these needs of our guests. Mm-hmm. We have a very strong commitment to it. We've always had that strong commitment, and it really comes from the family.
Yeah, so the Aponte family that owns it, and also the fact that you've developed sustainability centers on the cruise ship, whole advertising campaigns around the sustainability of your ships, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, we take it extremely seriously, and we are really making some credible strides in terms of looking for these solutions, which we really need to find. I mean, there's a very strict regulatory environment out there, and we need to make sure that we have got ships that are going to be viable into the future.
Absolutely. And this ship in particular, I believe this is the first net zero cruise that we're actually on right now, right?
That's right. Exactly. Yeah.
Explain net zero first.
Yeah. Net zero means that ultimately when you look at the emissions associated upstream with where we get these fuels from, we can balance them with any emissions that are associated with our ship. So that's where we get the kind of net zero balance from, really, in terms of making sure that ultimately this fuel will end up with a zero emissions as part of that kind of balance. So what we've done with this is we've actually purchased what we would call bio LNG. So it's LNG that isn't from fossil fuel, because most of the fuel we use now is...
And it's not inexpensive, right?
It's not inexpensive, but I think what we're doing with this is we're showing that it can be done. And we're giving those very strong messages to governments, the regulators, the policymakers, to say you need to help enable the scale up of these fuels because we can use them when they become available.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about the steps. Obviously, the use of LNG. What else has MSC done in terms of sustainable efforts? I know we were just at a presentation you gave, and it took a while, but you had to explain exactly what was, and you're trying to get not only the folks in that audience, but our travel advisors out there to explain to their clients what the sustainability efforts are. What are some of those efforts you've done?
Well, let's just quickly mention the LNG, because even though a lot of the LNG we use now, of course, is still fossil-based, it's a much cleaner fuel than the conventional fuels that we use. It's got a much lower emissions profile, so that's very important to start with. But then in terms of new technologies, we're also trialling what we would call a fuel cell, which isn't a battery. This is a device that actually creates energy, but it does so in a very different way than your regular internal combustion engines. And we'll be able to use some of these new future fuels for that, and effectively that will enable us to have a greater level of efficiency and potentially zero emissions if we can get fuels such as green hydrogen if they become available in the future.
But this is really looking ahead maybe 5 to 10 years, right?
Yeah, but it's really important that we start that process now. This is a small demonstration scale, but the fact that we've reached out to technology providers and said, you provide us with something that that we can put on our ship. We can test it, we can get comfortable with it. And now we want you to go back and we need you to scale up that technology for us. We know the fuels are going to take a while, but we need to make sure we are technology ready.
Absolutely. And then beyond the fuels, though, you have a lot of other programs in terms of waste and waste management, wastewater, things like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I love our kind of water story, for example. This ship can create all of its own water needs from seawater. So we don't have to rely on any port who may be in water stressed regions or, so we're totally independent when it comes to water. We take that seawater, we clean it, it's used for cooking, cleaning, washing, cooking, everything. Then all of that water, whether it's from our bathrooms, whether it's from the kitchens, whether it's from cleaning, that all goes into our very sophisticated wastewater management system and gets to a very high quality before it's allowed back into the sea.
No, it's amazing. So you have a lot of programs like that. There's even more. You had a whole list of things that we could talk about. We'll probably go on for about an hour, which is probably we should, because we have to communicate this to our travel advisors and their clients. Now, how do you think, what are kind of MSC's goals for sustainability, and what is the kind of timeline to achieve those goals?
Yeah, well, maybe, our sustainability agenda is very wide. It's not just about environment. We have lots of other areas that we look at, the procurement side of things, looking up the supply chain. But if I do just continue on that kind of environmental theme, we have our net zero 2050 emissions goal, greenhouse gas emissions. It's a long journey, I know, many decades, but as I've kind of explained, it's going to take that amount of time really for us to get those fuels that we need. We're getting the technologies ready now, but what we have now is we have what we call fuel flexible engines, so that as small amounts of those fuels become available, we can mix it with the traditional fuels, and then we'll be on that kind of journey as the fuels scale up so that our use will scale up.
No, that's great, and you're right. It's going to take a while, but some things we can do right away, like the wastewater management, things like that, and you're doing that right now. Now, what's your impression of how this sustainability? How does it resonate with cruise guests today? I think we were talking earlier. I mean, it's my impression, sadly, that we in America are not as advanced as Europeans in terms of wanting to go on things that we consider sustainable yet. But what is your impression of? Do you think that we're making some headway in terms of how this whole issue resonates with cruise guests?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a growing level of awareness, and particularly with the younger generations, and these are going to be our cruisers of the cruisers now and also cruisers of the future. So we need to make sure that we're anticipating this growing wave of requirements that are certainly going to come, and it's really great that we've kind of managed to start that journey so that when people become even more demanding, then we'll be ready for it.
No, and absolutely. It is the younger generations. I mean, old guys like me, we want to pay attention to this issue, but, sometimes people say, I just want to go on a cruise. I don't want to have to consider that it's sustainable. But now, I mean, I think MSC, really the goal here, the effort is to make sure that's an issue you consider maybe first and priority-wise before you select a cruise line.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think that time will come.
So what's the future hold for MSC Cruises and sustainability? This is it's not an effort that's going to end anytime soon. Right?
No, absolutely not. I mean, we need to start driving these technologies. We need to work in collaboration and partnership. We've been getting this bio-LNG. It's a lot of effort. We needed to get lots of partners involved, and this is something that we'll just carry on doing so that eventually it will just become the norm.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, and that hopes that others spreads to other cruise lines as well. I know a lot of other cruise lines that I'm in contact with are trying their best, and some even have very high levels of executives looking at this problem. But I think I have to say you guys have taken the lead in doing this and really making it part of your advertising campaigns, part of your really the cruise experience.
Yeah, I mean, we've been very bold about that. We know we've made it clear that there are challenges, but we're addressing them head on.
Well, you certainly are, and that was an amazing presentation earlier today before all of your partners and travel advisors downstairs, and you did a great job in terms of trying to, and we got to do a better job even, trying to explain it to our viewers about why this is so important. Lynn, I want to thank you for taking the time. Enjoyed meeting you, and let's keep going on the goal of sustainability.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.